What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Sanity Fitness Taking You to the Next Level podcast. I'm your host, Cedric, and today we're going to be talking about some mental tricks to get you to the next level. More specifically in the gym, but a lot of these principles are going to apply to other areas in your life. Now, before I get started, just want to say I don't have my usual mic that I would use. Not that I figured out everything that I can do with that mic. So there's going to be some background noise, and maybe you're going to hear it's not going to sound perfectly. So just a little warning. But if you're looking to get yourself to the next level, then stick around because today we're going to get into some really good tricks that have helped me to always push a little bit harder and always do a little bit more. All right. Now, the first principle that I want to talk about is something that I actually read in a book, and this is something that I use every day now. It's called The Power of One More by Ed Milet. And while you don't have to read the entire book to actually learn the principle, it's pretty much the same principle for the whole thing. It's a good read, and you can see different areas. If you are going to read it, you can see different areas in which it's going to help you to apply this principle. Right. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the story that he gave for how he realized the power of one more. And then I'm going to tell you how I apply it to my own journey. So, one of the things, so his story, what he talks about is that his dad was an alcoholic, basically. And when he asked his dad, "How long are you going to be sober for?" when his dad decided to get sober, his dad said, "I don't know how long I'm going to be sober for, but I can tell you this: I'm going to be sober for one more day." Right. And this basically, at the end of the day, the principle behind this is just that you need to look, sometimes you can't look at the super long term, right? Because that's something that's going to be overwhelming. Like to think, you know what, you have this crazy habit like of drinking every single day, you're an alcoholic, and that's all you know. It can be pretty overwhelming, and sometimes it might deter you if you're thinking, I got to be sober for like the rest of my life, kind of thing, right? It's a lot easier to think about in small steps and just look at the next step, look at the next day, make it like something small and something manageable, like mentally, so that you can just last one more day. Right. And the way that I apply this personally is just like that, like in the gym or in my nutrition or anything that I'm trying to do, any kind of habit that I'm trying to build, because at the end of the day, it's our habits that make us, right? And the habits is usually what's really hard for us to develop. And this is really what it really comes down to is using this, the power of one more, the one more principle, applying this to your habits that you're trying to develop is the best way to apply it. So, to give you a few examples, one thing was with my nutrition. There was a time where I ate a lot of fast food, basically because I could get away with it. But it really did hinder my progress, right? It's not very helpful to always be eating fast food, especially when you're depriving yourself of a bunch of necessary nutrients that you should be eating, like vegetables and all that, and you just get lazy, right? You start to eat just the fast food to replace the different types of foods that you should be eating. And when I tried to break that habit, and this was pretty recent, this was like a few months ago, um, it was pretty difficult. Like I can't say like I didn't eat fast food 3 meals a day every single day. It wasn't super terrible, but it wasn't as good as I wanted to. So where I have it now, it's very rare that I ever eat fast food. But for that time, my goal that I started was just to eat fast food no more than just on the weekends, right? And hopefully just once like per weekend. But the original goal was just don't eat fast food during the weekdays. And that was actually like super hard when I first got into it. Now I don't even think twice. I definitely do not feel like McDonald's like ever, just because once you actually develop that healthy habit, it makes everything easier. But for me to actually get there, I needed to use a few mental tricks, right? And that one mental trick that made like an enormous difference that I really used for that was one more. So every single day, like from literally the first day wasn't too bad, but after that, literally by Tuesday, the first Tuesday, I was like, holy shit, I just want to go and buy like a McDouble at McDonald's, right? Just want to eat some poutine, just want to eat, like, I had all these different fast foods that I wanted to eat. And one more was the way that I got myself through it. I was in the middle of reading this book when I was going to do it, or when I was doing it. So it was like the perfect timing to really drill this into me. I didn't say to myself, you know what, I'm going to last the entire week. which I did. I ended up, that's how it worked. But that's not what I told myself, right? If I had to look at it as I'm gonna not eat fast food until Saturday, the way I said, which it's gonna take discipline either way, but honestly, it would have taken more discipline if I tried to wait until Saturday, if I thought about it in that way. Because like I've done this before, right? Other times when I tried to quit fast food, it would just be I'm gonna wait till Saturday, and then it's like, man, you know what? Fuck it. It's way too long from now, and I would just quit. I would fall off. But if you focus on just the like one more day, and that's all I repeated to myself when I was going to work or whatever I was doing. Like you're surrounded by other people that are eating fast foods, it can be very tough. But you tell yourself just one more day, one more hour, even like one more minute, even like you have these different ways that you prepared yourself to make sure that you wouldn't. But mentally, there's going to be a big struggle. But I just told myself, you know what, one more hour. And this was, I think, on Friday. Like once I'd gotten to Friday and I still didn't want to eat fast food, it was like the hardest time ever. Like I was even Thursday was hard. It was just getting harder and harder. By Friday, it was insanely difficult. I was like, just one more hour. Like I really just even thought at one point I was like, you know what, fuck it. I almost made it to the weekend. I was this close to the weekend. I was like, I'm just gonna go and get a burger right after work. But then after work came and I was like, you know what? One more hour. I'll hold out for one more hour and then the next hour I'll see what's up. And then I said one more again. And then before I knew it, I ended up, it was Saturday and I just ended up succeeding, right? And after that, the funny thing is, once I reached that point where I kind of kept my promise for the entire week, my promise to myself, I didn't even want to eat fast food anymore. I was like, I made it this far and kept saying one more day. What if I do that again? What if I go one more day again? And the next day, like I didn't eat Saturday, I didn't have the fast food, but the next day on Sunday I did. I can't remember exactly what I had, but like I do remember this. I did end up going and eating out, which was completely fine. I do not believe in restricting yourself completely from certain foods, but this was just about building a habit of living a healthier lifestyle and just making better progress, right? Because at the end of the day, if you're replacing a lot of the good foods that are going to help you, then it's going to hinder you a little bit. And it's not that you can't eat those foods as well, just don't replace like your vegetables with McDouble. That's going to cause issues. So if you can eat all of those things, like eat all your vegetables and still eat fast food and it's not hurting you, then that's completely fine. But like I said, like I was just at the point where I would replace a healthy meal with fast food, and that wasn't okay with me. But at this point, like I said, like once you've developed that habit, once you're over that hump, and a lot of times it's just developing that new habit because you're literally going against the system in your brain that you're so used to, that you're programmed, whether it's eating under stressful situations or like eating out for time management because you feel that you can't, like you don't have enough time to cook for yourself, right? Or you're just too lazy. All these different things are very difficult to overcome when you're building a new habit. So using the power of one more is just like, you know what, you're going to do this one more time no matter what, and then you'll see what happens after that, and then you can just work on developing it from there. But once you've gotten over that mental hurdle a little bit, it gets a lot easier. And at this point, like I said, I just enjoy the cleaner foods, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't want to go back to McDonald's, eat McDoubles and all that. Like I drive by it and it's like, doesn't sound appealing to me. And I still will eat it sometimes, but most of the time at this point, I'm just in the habit of just eating those clean and better foods, right? Now, another principle that I use just to push a little bit harder, get yourself to the next level, is going to apply more towards the gym. And I'm talking about lifting a little bit more each time. And really, what's really going to be important, and this actually applies to anything, not just in the gym, but tracking your weights, tracking how much reps you're doing, tracking how much sets you're doing, right? And again, with same thing with your foods, tracking the foods that you're eating. Any kind of goal you have, you want to have some specific like performance metrics that you can track so that you can actually push yourself to get to the next level. Because if you're not tracking your metrics, then you're not going to know where you are. And a huge principle when it comes to hitting your goals is understanding where you are now, where you want to be, and what is it going to take for you to get there. So if you're not tracking your weights, then you're really shooting yourself in the foot, because that is one of the things that is going to help you to make progress, whether it's aesthetically or powerlifting or whatever it is in the gym or anywhere in life. You need to track what it is that you're doing, what you've been doing, right? So it's not just going to be weights, it's also your reps and your sets. But as long as you know where you are, where you're starting, then you can use those and push those so that the next time you're in the gym, you know what you did last time, then you can do a little bit more, right? And this all comes down to progressive overload, which, if you don't know what it is, I'm not going to go deeply into it, but it's basically making things a little bit harder each time that you're in the gym and putting your muscles under more and more stress. There's a lot of different ways to get that progressive overload, but one of those, or a few of those ways, is through reps, sets, and another one is weight, right? So track those metrics and you're going to be way ahead of the game, and you're going to be able to get yourself to the next level basically every single gym session, because you can always do one more set, whether you're dropping the weights or bringing the weights up, doing less sets, whatever it is that you want to do. Like, there's always ways that you can get yourself to the next level. But if you're not tracking it, how are you going to remember that you did, like, for your first set? Like, for me, I always do pyramid sets. Basically, the weight's not the same every single set, and there's no way I could remember that the first set I did 25 pounds for 13 reps, and then second set I did whatever I did, right? And each and every single set, I can't remember all of that. So keep track of them, whether you're using an application, using a notebook, or keeping notes in your phone. Um, like, any kind of way like that to keep track of your weights is going to make a huge difference. All right. Now, that was more of a practical thing, not so much mindset. Now, the next thing that I'm going to get into is more, again, mindset, kind of like the power of one more. Very similar. It's just, if I can do it once, I can do it twice. Right. And this is something that I've used for a long time. Like, it's always been in my mind. If I can do it once, I can do it twice. I still remember using this since I started boxing. I was boxing in high school at age 17, I think I started, maybe 16. Um, and that was something I used whenever I was out for runs, or even in cross country. I did the same thing. It was like, obviously, this doesn't always apply, but you can always use it just to kind of psych yourself into trying it a little differently. But basically, at the end of the day, we're always capable of more than we think we are. And as it applies to running, when I was boxing, it's, when it comes to running, you can do a lot more than you think you can, right? You could be exhausted and like to the brink of like falling down, and you can still keep going. So I would do like 1 kilometer or something, and then like my total, the amount that I wanted to run for, maybe it was 2 kilometers. And I would think to myself, I just did 1 kilometer. If I can do it once, I can do it twice, right? And then I hit 2 kilometers and I want to hit four. It's, if I can do it once, I can do it twice. So it's like, exponentially, you can keep on saying, if I can do it once, I can do it twice. And this applies to anything, whether it's like reading a book or like lifting your different weights, right? Doing reps, especially when you're in the gym and you're doing like your bicep curls. Don't stop as soon as you get tired, and don't stop at a set number of reps necessarily. In some cases, yes, depending on what training protocols you're following. But if you're trying to push yourself, then stop like when you're done, not when you're hitting that certain number of reps. Like, set a target at the start, but once you get to that target, if you know that you can keep on going, which one more is super useful here as well. Like, always think to yourself, I can do one more, and then try it. If you can do it, then you can go to the next level. And then a lot of times you'll have a lot of reps in the tank, and just telling yourself, I can do one more, until actual failure, until you literally cannot lift the bar off of your chest. That's how you get yourself to actual failure. Keep doing just one more. Now, this, if I can do it once, I can do it twice. That's on a bigger scale, so you can't always go to failure and then think, I can, if I can do it once, I can do it twice within that same session. But if you've done 225 pounds on the bench press once for one rep, then you can do it twice, right? So maybe not in the same session, but in a future session. So you can think to yourself, if I can do it once, I can keep training, and in the future, I can do it twice. And this really leads me to my next point, which is killing your limiting beliefs, right? Do not limit yourself, because if you can do anything once, you can do it twice. And honestly, anything else too. Like if it's trying to think of an example, like I have a client that did not think she could walk a certain amount of steps per day when she first started my program. And then after a certain point, like we started off with very small amounts of walking. I can't remember exactly how it was, but I'll just throw out a number out there. I like I said, I can't remember exactly what it was, but let's say it was 3 minutes, right? Just 3 minutes of walking, and then from there, like right now, she's doing like 10 times better than she was when she first started. But if she could do it once, right, she could do it twice. So maybe it was 3 minutes when she started, and then eventually she got the six and even more and more and more. So if you can do anything once, you can do it twice, and you can always break it down into something super small. If you can't even do a squat, do a half a squat, do a quarter of a squat. And if you can do it once, if you can do a quarter of a squat once, you can do it twice, like just double it, basically, is the whole idea behind this, which would mean if you can do a quarter of a squat, then you can do a half a squat. If you can do a half a squat, then you can get yourself to a full squat. Even if it's not a quarter squat, a third of a squat, or an eighth of a squat, whatever, like anywhere that you're at, you can always do like you can reach double where you started, right? And that's the whole idea behind this, is just always tell yourself, if I can do it once, I can do it twice. That, along with one more, is just going to help you to push yourself a little bit more and reach for more than you think you can do, because a lot of times we limit ourselves. I'm going to give you guys an example today specifically, doing tricep extensions. All right, so using a dumbbell, you put the dumbbell on your shoulder here to set yourself up, you bring it up, and you do tricep extensions, right? For me, I had my personal record was, I think it was 75 pounds for 8 reps, I believe it was. And with that, when I looked at my tracking app, there was like something that looked a little bit different than like it was tracked. It was just the way that the app setup was. It looked like I thought I saw that I did 90. That I thought that was my PR, but that wasn't actually it. It was just the way the interface worked, and obviously I was in the middle of my workout, so I wasn't paying very good attention. And it had been a little while since I did those types of tricep extensions, so I thought that in the past I had done 90 pounds for 8 reps, but what I had actually done was the 75 pounds, right? And so I went and I did the 90s, and I didn't go to 8. I was actually confused why I was so far off. I was like, I grabbed the 90s and I was able to do 6. Second set after that, I did it again and I was able to do 7. But then when I looked at how much reps I actually did and how much weight I actually did the last time, it was actually a lot less, right? So I actually beat my PR by 15 pounds. And even on the next set after the first one, I was able to get one more rep than the set before that. I was aiming for 8 in all of my sets. I wasn't able to reach it, but I still, like, I got way more just because of that little mental shift, like mental confusion or accident, right? It just goes to show that a lot of it, like when it comes to pushing yourself, it's a big mental game. It's not actually always going to be strength and like physically, but a lot of it is going to be a mental game. And as I was saying, so talking about limiting beliefs here, um, basically, a lot of people will have those limiting beliefs that they can't do any walking, they can't really push themselves. And it's just because when you've gone through your entire life living a certain reality, basically, like we all tell ourselves different stories about how the world works and how it works for us more specifically. We even look at other people, like crazy athletes all the time, that are doing certain things that there's no way we could ever do, just because there is limitations when it comes to your talents, but there's no limits on how much better you can get, basically. You can always do a little bit better than the last version of you, but because we're surrounded by all these things that, like, we see people that are much better than us every single day in certain ways, like you're better than that person in different ways, but we see this very often. We see a person that can do something better than us, and that can create limiting beliefs that, you know what, I could never do that. Or you may have struggled with something for a very long time, and because you couldn't do it, for example, with my client with the walking, because she hadn't walked in such a long time for such a long distance, um, again, I can't remember the exact scenario. We've been working together for a long time, but in a lot of cases, that could develop a limiting belief that I can't do this amount of steps, or I can't walk this amount in this set period of time. But in reality, like, she's now gotten so much further than where she started, right? So those limiting beliefs hold really no value. So life can literally get a lot broader for you, and your training can get a lot broader for you when you realize that there is really no limits to how much better you can get. Now, I'm not saying you're going to go and be the next like Michael Jordan, but you can always improve on your like jump shot a little bit better, right? You're not going to be the next Arnold Schwarzenegger, but you can always increase like your weight or your size just a little bit more, right? There's no real limits at the end of the day. Like, you're going to lose out on a little bit of the gains and returns over time. That's normal, but you can always do a little bit more. You can always improve yourself a little bit more, and you are always going to be capable of a lot more than you think you are. So if you have any kind of limiting beliefs, just erase that idea that you're limited by anything, right? Be open to the fact that you could have like you you could be in your dream body, you can walk for like 5 hours straight without being tired. Like, there is no limits really, and I truly believe that. And I've seen it time and time again, a lot of people just shattering those limiting beliefs, and usually it's more in the act of doing it. But like, for me personally as well, like, I think about where I started and thinking I couldn't do a lot of different things that I can do nowadays. Since I kind of started working on myself and personal development and self growth and all that stuff, basically starting with boxing when I was 17, there was a lot of different things that I didn't think was possible for me that I couldn't do. For example, I didn't think I could fight at all. Like, there was a lot of different things with the boxing. There was a lot of limiting beliefs there, but I kept showing up. I kept going. I kept doing one more day, tracking my metrics, right? Doing, if I could do it once, I could do it twice. All these different principles that helped me to basically kill my limiting beliefs to the point that nowadays, and that was just one example, there is a ton of different ways. Communication skills. I would not have thought in high school that I would get to this point. I mean, like, where I can actually talk on camera and not be nervous. Like, I'm not really nervous in front of the camera anymore. Um, I mean, I do get nervous sometimes, but it's much less than it used to be when I was in high school, right? I couldn't even talk to new people. I couldn't even like order food through a drive-through. I'd have to ask my friends for like, can you order for me? Like, it was that bad, right? Social anxiety to the next level. Now my communication skills might not be as good as like some of the top salesmen out there, like Jordan Belfort or something, but they're on a different level, like entirely, like so much better than where it was when I started. And because I've gotten all these different things that like the old me would never believe in a million years that I could get to, and this is possible for all of you guys, right? But once you reach that, like, I truly believe at this point that there really is no limits to how high I can take this. Now, I have noticed that things have slowed down a lot in growth, but that's just like, that goes along with like the laws of diminishing returns. And just the more you grow, just like working out, your gains kind of slow down a little bit. That's normal, but it doesn't mean that you're done. You can still keep on growing, right? There's always ways that you can keep improving. But the beauty of it is, as it gets slower, like as it gets harder to grow, you've also gotten smarter and better at growing. So you can actually use that knowledge and that skill that you've developed over time and growth to keep growing, even though it's a little bit harder, right? So killing your limiting beliefs, it's going to help you get to the next level. And I wish I knew this at the start. I wish I knew that I was full of these limiting beliefs, because that would have helped me get to the next level. So if there's anything that you guys take away from this podcast, it's that these limiting beliefs are something that is getting in your way and are not entirely valid. Like, there is some validity to them in the way that if you believe it, then it's going to be very true for you. Like, if you believe that you can't go talk to someone, or you believe that you can't go and do you can't go to the gym, or you believe that you can't read a book because you don't have the focus for it, then that's going to be a reality, and it's going to be true. That's going to limit you, right? But all of those things are things that physically are possible. And once you realize that those limiting beliefs are just something that are in your head that are getting in your way, you can begin to just shatter those and start questioning them. Question yourself. Build your awareness on what it is that you're limiting yourself on, and just always ask yourself, like, what is it that I want to do? And as soon as you know what you want to do not let any voice inside your head, like anything, tell you that you cannot do this, because there's going to be a way to get there, right? For the most part, I really believe that if you have an idea, then you basically were given that idea for you to go and accomplish it. All right. Anyways, that's it for today's podcast. That wraps it up. I appreciate you guys for listening. If you enjoyed this podcast and learned something, all I ask is that you share it with your family and friends so we can spread the healthier lifestyle to more people. That's it. That's all. Peace.